All right, good morning. I picked up a couple things. I'm gonna do a whole video on this bike today, which is kind of some kooky rare bike. I'm gonna need help identifying. All right, we're gonna talk about that, and I also have this frame here, which is very similar to the blue frame I built up this past week. I'll show that in a moment. And this is really cool. It's got the tabs for a chain guard, but again, it's the smaller frame. Here's something really kooky about it. Look at the alignment of that head badge. It's garbage. And that's from the Schwinn factory. It came out like that. Right, see how off-center that is? And the serial number's back here. So it's an earlier Schwinn. So this was like a Monday morning, after partying. Somebody drilled those holes off-center there. Kind of crazy. You don't see that too often, but you do see it. It's like that dollar bill. You get like some form of currency where it's off center and then it's worth a bunch of extra money because of it. And this is a Santa Barbara frame, 4130, super lightweight. I forget the guy's name up there. I talked to him years ago, and this was a frame a buddy of mine had made custom with that piece there. And this guy gets, I think, for his custom frames, $800 or more, in that range. I know that they were like $600 to $800 years ago, so maybe it's a little bit more now. So I'll probably build this thing up into a bike that I can get some coin for, and throw some paint on it. And that's it for now. Here, just a quick look at it's that blue bike that I built up last week there. And you can see, compared to the red frame, it's pretty much the same frame. So stick around. We're going to get into this camo paint job on this bike here and try to discover what it is. Real quickly, I'll tell you. The rear wheel is a Yukai wide flange. And it bolts on. It doesn't have a quick release. You guys can see that there. And the wheel that came on it, the front wheel, is not the correct wheel. It's a garbage wheel. It's a HJC. I've had these before. I like the HJCs that kind of look like Arias. I don't know if I'm in frame here, so probably cut the top of my head off. I'll keep the beginning of this a little bit short. At any rate, I had another set of Yukais with the wide flange, front and rear, on my shelf. So now I'll be able to match that rear wheel, put some fat, beefy tires on this thing, clean it up, and then maybe we'll get some more period correct pedals on it. I think I have some XCs or XTs or whatever they are, those round ones. We'll put them on there, and then we'll make this thing look right. And then I'll give you guys some close-ups of it, and we'll discuss it. And then maybe you guys can help me identify. Really cool story with this frame and how I ended up getting this bike. You guys will get a kick out of it. So stick around. Don't go anywhere. It ain't over yet. So I'm going through my pedal box and matching up pedals, trying to determine which pedals I'm going to put on this. I think I'm going to go with, I think I got some genuine Sun Tour XTs here. I think that these will go on this bike. I think that would be appropriate. And then I've got not genuine, and I've got these KKTs that are, I don't know, these are pretty cool. They're all aluminum. They don't have a replaceable outer, although I've never seen anybody replace them. I know you could probably get them. I got these other ones here that are interesting. But again, I think that that's going to be the proper pedal for this bike. And I was just pairing these up out of what I find here. I've got, these are all 9/16 from here over. Then these are 1/2 inch. Bunch of rat trap pedals here. Of course, I got the old vintage Schwinns in here, these are really cool. These were great. When I was a kid, I remember these because you'd be barefoot at the beach, and this was the pedal that you'd want for a real beach cruiser right there. Then I even have a set of these. Look, this is from the exercise bike. All right. If you got one leg that's like shorter than the other, you might want one of these on there. Although the weight of this would pull it over this way all the time, but you just push it over with your toe. And these would probably be like super comfortable, again, if you were barefoot. Just a lot of stuff, man. That, you accumulate this stuff over the years, and You know, I think I got another free agent pedal for that. I don't even know. Look at these for comfort barefoot. I mean, the ultimate barefoot pedal right there. And again, that's a 1/2 inch. So for those that don't know, this spot right here, that would go into a 1/2 inch hole on your crank. And typically 3-piece cranks like this one here are going to be running 9/16. That's what these all are. So they're a little bit larger. Anyhow, that's one box of pedals, and there's other pedals other places. It's insane. Orphan pedals. All right, we're going to need some help identifying this bike. All right, so I gave it a good cleanup, and it turns out this rear wheel is not a Yukai. It's an unmarked wheel. It looks very similar to a Yukai. The corner is much sharper. The Yukai is a little bit more rounded. And it turns out that this Yukai wheel I have has a Schwinn approved wide flange front hub, and I have the matching rear wheel for that. And I was running those on a mountain bike before that I built. They come off of the Schwinn Sierra, that first one where the steel frame. It's basically the Sidewinder frame with brake bosses put on it and a mountain bike fork. And Schwinn made that bike, and it had all ACS parts on it, right? ACS pedals, ACS stem. And people would buy that bike over the years just for those parts because they were BMX parts, including the Yukai wheels. And so I've had a couple of those that I've stripped down. So this is probably not really the right wheels for this frame necessarily. They do look cool on here. But I've got a set of Arias up there, although I think they're quick release. I don't know. I've probably got a set of wheels that are more appropriate for this frame. I put the XC pedals on here, the Sun Tours, because I thought that they were appropriate. And I've adjusted the brakes. I haven't run it through all the gears and taken it on a ride on the street yet. I've got this kooky SR adjustable seat post. Turns out that the seat post that was on there was a little narrow, and they had squeezed it too tight at the bolt. So this one was the only one I have here that fits. I actually have a bunch of parts at my apartment that would work on this bike. That's the thing. I was building bikes in my living room for so long. There's a lot of stuff there as well. So it's got the bull moose bars. It's got these EM shifters that I've got to adjust the placement on. It's got the old vintage brake cables and gear cables there. And it's got some really cool bosses on it. It's got the diving bell style right here. And it looks like a homemade paint job to me. It's got an upgrade. It's got a good headset on it. Good fork. It's got some of the best parts of the era. I'm going to go ahead and put you on the little tripod and walk you around this kind of tight and show it off to you. It's pretty cool. This is not a bike I'm intending to sell. This is a bike that, I mean, it's kind of me. I like the camo thing, right? I mean, if I could keep this in my stable, I will. The only way I would sell this bike is if somebody offered like a ridiculous amount of money for it, because I think it's that special. So let's see some of these details close up. You'll also notice the tires. I had a vintage set of WTB tires, Wilderness trail bike tires, or trail bikes. And I'll show you something on this tire that's pretty cool, because it says right on the tire to set it up for mud or for dry terrain. Right now it's set up in the mud direction, which has the points of the treads pointing forward. In the old days with BMX, we would have the points facing backwards for more traction in the dirt, you know. But I put it this way because I like from this side of the shot, we can see Wilderness trail bikes on the tires. If I would have spun this rear one around, that would be on the other side. And I just thought for photography purposes, it would look better that way. I'm going to add some stills here at the end of the video, I suppose. But let's go ahead. I'm going to put you on the small tripod and keep talking about this so you guys can see these details and help me identify it. All right, so as I was saying, it looks to me like this is a homemade paint job. I think it's tractor paint because it's on there pretty heavy. They did a great job on this, really, when you think about it. It's kind of got that World War II Pacific pattern vibe going. Again, this is a pretty rare seat post. The adjustability on this is pretty crazy. I've got one of my personal Brooks saddles on here right now. It's got this quick release here so you can adjust the seat forward and aft and adjust the pitch on it. Again, we're running these old vintage XC pedals on here. You got the old crank set, 21 gear bike. Like I said, I kind of cleaned it up a little bit. This derailleur is, I think this predates the deer head. So it's pretty old. I didn't mess with this. It seems to be shifting through the gears. It's all Shimano parts. Cleaned up the rear hub a bit. This rear hub was fine. It's a sealed bearing, so I don't have to do much with it. Got the old XC sticker still on this pedal, which is always really cool to see. I had to take apart the front hub, and it was free balling, large ball bearings too, 9 on each side. So I greased all that up, the wheel's spinning nicely. So you can see I'm going to have to adjust the shifters around. Bull moose bars are super cool. I've got a set of high-rise bull moose bars. They came off of this Nishiki Pacific frame, which, by the way, 20 bucks. If you want that frame, that's a tall frame. It's decent size, decently made frame. It'll take a fat tire on the back if you're a tall guy. Comfortable grips. So some of these details, let's try to point them out to you. There's, as far as the frame goes, to help you, it's got this weird gusset here. It's bad lighting. Let's do it from the other side. Of course, there's cables in the way on this side. So it's got this gusset in here. Real good welds on the top and down tube. You can see that nice fat weld here through the paint. And this gusset, I would guess, would be your telltale thing for those of you that know these bikes. It's got a Tangy headset on it, which I should probably take apart and re-grease. Probably got a nicer top nut for that as well. Oh, looks like he's got paint on that. That's what that is. I thought it was rust or something, but no. When he painted it, he got paint on that top nut. These are great forks, if you're not familiar with them. They've got a little bit of flex, which is nice. Again, you can see the diving bell, they like to call that. Brazed on here. The cable stops. I'm guessing this is your telltale thing. We have a lug here. All right, so we've got it at the seat tube. That's lugged. We got these chamfers here on the seat stays where it's attached. See the rear brake line assembly here, which is interesting. So it's pinched. It's tubular here and it's pinched thin here. And the boss is brazed to that. That's well done. Dropouts are pretty standard from the time period. You guys would know what they are called. I'm not sure. I probably have a period correct kind of vintage water bottle cage that'll work on that down tube. I'll have to dig one of those out. You know, 175 millimeter cranks on here. We do have this to make note of here, which would be more like a fender bridge, I suppose, if you wanted to put one on there, or maybe to mount a rack right there. What else? We've got a bolt here instead of a quick release. to loosen that seat post. I guess that's about it, right? So I'm hoping this is enough information for those of you guys that know this stuff better than I do, which is most of you who are into vintage mountain bikes. You can see the tread on these tires. These are brand new vintage tires here. They're just dusty. You know, so I ought to bring back some memories. I don't know if they're still making these. Are these vintage or are these new? You guys tell me. I was told by the guy I got them from that these were new old stock. That's pretty cool. Got the direction here. Let's spin this here. Excuse me for a moment. Oh, gotta turn it upside down. Give me a moment here. I'm messing up here. It's pretty neat they got that right on the tire. It's hard for me to do this. Sorry, I'm getting reflection off the screen. I can't read it. But yeah, it says mud or dry. It tells you the direction to orient the tread when you're mounting it on the wheel. Cross country or downhill. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. And you see the tread here, so that's pointing forward. So like I was saying earlier, normally I would spin that around the other way for more traction. And then the front, I believe you always put it on this way. That's how I always did it. And although they do have the same thing, do they have that on here? Yeah, so everybody knows this is the front tire, right? It doesn't have the directions on it. So that's really, really, really cool. Let's see if we could set this up so I could do some talking. All right, so as I was saying, any help we can get on this would be awesome. If you guys think you recognize this frame, remember that gusset, it's gusseted on both sides underneath the down tube at the head tube there. I can see the paint. I mean, I can see the brush strokes in the paint, painted by hand, and he did a really good artful job of this. The guy was an artist. There's no doubt about it. And look, maybe the paint ruins it. Right? Like if this is some weird collectible bike, like an old Redline mountain bike or something. I don't know enough about them. I'm hoping I showed you guys enough of the details where whoever knows more about this sort of thing can say, hey, that's what this thing is. That would be cool. I'm not looking to sell it. I'm looking to keep it. I would sell it, but you'd have to give me a bunch of money, and I don't think it's just one of those weird things. I like oddball stuff. You know, the chick with the wooden leg, that sort of thing. I'm kidding. But it is so different and unique. It's really cool. So, again, I just have no idea what this thing is. I'll probably put a different seat post in it. This obviously isn't adjusted right. I haven't ridden it yet. I haven't run it through the gears. So I'll do that, and I'll probably commute on it a little bit here in town. I haven't been riding bikes. I haven't had the time for it. I haven't been making the time for it. And if I'm going to start hustling here at the shop, where I'm just making stuff here, I don't need to drive the van again. So I was fitter when I was poorer because I would ride back and forth to the shop all the time to do stuff here. Or if I was just making furniture, you know, where I don't need the van. I need the van to get materials, drop it off, then I don't really need the van unless I'm going to be running errands in the middle of the day. So with that, I mean, that's about it. I mean, again, I just want to, the fork is special. This frame is pretty special. It's got the high quality parts of the day, these vintage parts on here. It's my own personal Brooks saddle on here. I probably have a brown one somewhere maybe that I could put on here. And yeah, I'll find, right now, I think I adjusted the brakes and everything, so everything should work. Even with these old vintage Shimano pads. I got to adjust this one a little bit better. The tires are super cool. You guys could tell me what you think. Just tell me if you're a mountain bike person and you understand that there's a bunch of you guys here apparently, bike shop guys. Maybe you've worked on one of these before. Again, Tangy headset on there. Again, the bull moose bars. I mean, it's got some cool cachet to it, man. At any rate, that's it for now. Thanks for being here. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I wanted to point out too on Instagram. I talk about Bikeopolis. You know, on Facebook it's Bikeopolis. You can find the page there. On Instagram, add an OG in front of it. Original Gangster Bikeopolis, right? OG Bikeopolis. And if you go, there's a page at Bikeopolis, but it's not all the images are on there. If you do hashtag OG Bikeopolis, there are hundreds of images on Instagram, and I recommend that you do that. It probably only goes back about 6 years or so, but there's a lot there of images that I posted because it was Bikeopolis, and what happened was some guy, before I could think to do it, now I do it all the time, bought the URL, www.bikeopolis.com, and I contacted him. I was like, hey man, what the hell? And he's like, yeah, I couldn't believe it was available. I was like, yeah, there's hundreds of, I'm Bikeopolis on Facebook already. I'm Bikeopolis on Instagram. And maybe I wasn't yet. I think what happened was I was going to start the Bikeopolis page. And this guy already had that, and he had already bought the URL for it. That's what happened. I was doing all this under the Mike Z Design Instagram. And I was just doing hashtag Bikeopolis. So I created a new Instagram page that was at OG Bikeopolis, and I had to go through all my hashtag Bikeopolis photos, hundreds of them, and go in and edit and add an OG in front of it so he doesn't get credit for any of my stuff. So again, if you're on Instagram, hashtag OG BIKOPOLIS, Bikeopolis, I think that's right. Sound it out, you'll figure it out. You could do it. They used to teach us that when I was a kid in school. That's it for now. Thanks again for being here. Come back off to tell your friends. I'll catch you all on the next one. I hope you guys dig this. It's a pretty cool bike. Let's do some stills.